The Russians do not have control over the city of Pokrovsk. This statement was made by the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces, Alexander Syrskyi. On his Facebook page, he reported that he made a trip to the Pokrovsk direction, where he spoke with commanders. According to him, stabilizing the situation in the area of the Pokrovsk-Mirnored operation depends on the level of coordination between military command bodies, units, and subdivisions involved in carrying out combat missions.
The Pokrovsk direction remains the main focus in the context of the enemy's offensive. This is where the highest number of daily enemy assault actions are recorded. A significant part of its grouping operating on the territory of Ukraine is concentrated here. The enemy, in particular, is trying to take advantage of the difficult weather conditions.
Syrskyi added that the main tasks of the armed forces of Ukraine remain the gradual taking of control over certain areas, supporting and protecting existing logistical routes, as well as organizing additional ones. He said that constant fighting with small enemy assault infantry groups continues both on the approaches and directly within the urban area. Ukrainian soldiers are doing everything possible to make it impossible for the enemy to move and gain a foothold. According to the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, as a result of search and strike operations over the past week, almost 7.5 square kilometers of territory in the Pokrovsk district of Donetsk region have been cleared of enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups. Syrskyi summed up,
There is no question of Russian forces controlling the city of Pokrovsk or of the Ukrainian Defense Forces grouping being operationally encircled. The fight continues.
The day before, thick fog allowed the occupiers to approach Pokrovsk. A video was published online showing Russian soldiers moving along a foggy road in civilian cars and on motorcycles. According to the BBC, it was filmed on the southern outskirts of Pokrovsk. As told by the pilot of the Ukrainian unit Syrskyi with the call sign Goose, this column of occupiers was later partially destroyed. According to him, due to poor weather conditions, there was no video surveillance of the repelled attack, so he is not sure whether the entire group was hit. The soldier emphasized that it was precisely because of the fog that the Russians decided to launch an assault with a column of vehicles, which, in good visibility, could have easily been destroyed by Ukrainian drones. According to the 7th Corps of the Air Assault Forces of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the massive assault by the invaders using light vehicles on the Selidov-Pokrovsk highway area achieved partial success. Some of the enemy vehicles were destroyed by the defenders on the approaches to Pokrovsk and some more within the city itself. Search and strike operations are ongoing. Defense forces are also working to destroy the firing positions that Russian troops managed to set up in recent days in certain districts of Pokrovsk. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, as of 8 a.m. on November 13th, the situation in the Pokrovsk direction remains the most tense. There, Ukrainian defenders have repelled 81 attacks by the aggressor. The General Staff also published footage of the 425th Separate Assault Regiment, which continues assault operations in Pokrovsk. In total, 226 combat engagements were recorded along the front line over the past day. The losses of the Russian invaders amounted to 1,180 personnel.
Flamingo missiles struck Russia on the night of November 13th. Units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces carried out strikes on several dozen targets on Russian territory and in temporarily occupied areas of Ukraine, using, among other things, drones. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In particular, it is noted that in temporarily occupied Ukrainian Crimea, there were hits on the marine oil terminal storage facility, a helicopter parking area, and a site for storing and preparing UAVs at the Kirovsky airfield, as well as on an air defense radar station in Yevpatoria. In the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhzhia region, an oil depot near Berdyansk was struck, as well as forward command posts of the 5th Combined Arms Army and the 127th Motorized Rifle Division of the Russian occupiers, the statement said. Additionally, as reported by the General Staff, targets were also hit on Russian territory. To carry out complex strikes, attack UAVs, rocket drones, and various types of missiles are being used. Thus, last night, a number of long-range weapons were launched, including domestically developed systems such as Flamingo, Bars, and Luchi, the General Staff noted. As of today, the Flamingo is, in terms of its characteristics, the best subsonic cruise missile in the world. It surpasses not only the Russian Kh-101, Ka-555s Kalibr and Iskander K, but also the American Tomahawk. It is superior in terms of target range, warhead weight, and several other parameters. For example, its flight range is 3,000 kilometers, maximum speed is 950 kilometers per hour, and cruising speed is 850 to 900 kilometers per hour. The warhead weight is 1,000 to 1,150 kilograms. The guidance system is combined, including satellite, electronic warfare resistant, and inertial systems. The publication Welt reports that in September, Ukraine used 3 Flamingo cruise missiles during a strike on a Russian intelligence base in temporarily occupied Crimea. According to the publication, 2 missiles hit the target while another fell approximately 100 meters away.
Ukraine and the United States of America are jointly developing interceptor drones capable of countering Russian attack UAVs. This was stated by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in an interview with Bloomberg. According to him, this is a joint American-Ukrainian production. Zelensky expressed hope that in the future the armed forces of Ukraine will have even more drones. The head of state also commented on the difficult situation on the Pokrovsk front. According to him, Russian forces are trying to gain control of the city after months of fierce fighting. The president emphasized that any decision to withdraw troops should be made by the military command on the ground.
No one is forcing them to die for the sake of ruins. I will support our soldiers, especially the commanders who are there, in how they can control the situation. Otherwise, it will be too costly for us. The most important thing for us is our soldiers.
Zelensky noted that Russia is seeking to achieve victory in Pokrovsk in order to create a favorable position in possible negotiations with the United States. At the same time, the Ukrainian leader emphasized that Ukraine will not give up defending its eastern territories.
We cannot leave eastern Ukraine. No one will understand that. People will not understand that. And most importantly, no one can guarantee that, after capturing a particular settlement, they won't move further. There is no deterrent factor.
Volodymyr Zelensky also said that the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin managed to intimidate some European leaders so that they would not send air defense systems to Ukraine. According to him, the Kremlin leader carried out a deliberate campaign against Europe with recent drone and fighter jet incursions into the airspace of NATO member countries.
I think he scared them. That was his goal and he achieved it. The Europeans responded immediately. How did they respond? That's a question for NATO and for each country that faced the aerial threat.
The head of state added that the drone incursions were without a doubt a form of psychological influence. Moreover, Putin was testing not only the reaction of the alliance countries, but also their readiness for such threats. Zelensky also commented on the aggressor country's attacks on Ukraine's energy sector. The president of Ukraine believes that Russian forces are targeting Ukraine's energy system, trying to weaken Ukraine before spring. According to him, the Russians know that as soon as the energy factor disappears, they will have no other strong factors left. Meanwhile, on his Telegram channel, Volodymyr Zelensky wrote that the Kremlin is ramping up production at military-industrial facilities and preparing for a major war on the European continent in 2029 or 2030. He called on European leaders to put even more pressure on Russia.
The U.S. conducted strike drills with a nuclear bomber near Russia's borders. An American B-52H strategic bomber carried out a training flight in the skies over Finland near the Russian border, according to the Finnish Air Force's X social media account. The statement notes that the exercises took place on Wednesday, November 12th. The US B-52H strategic bomber practiced striking targets at a training ground located in the east of the country, near the Russian border. According to Finnish sources, the American bomber was escorted by Finnish F/A-18 Hornet fighter jets. In addition, the bomber later entered Estonian airspace and approached the Russian border to a distance of about 50 kilometers. In Estonia, the American bomber was escorted by Royal Air Force Eurofighter Typhoons from the United Kingdom. Also, during the training flight over Estonia, a NATO airborne early warning and control aircraft was operating in the area. It is noteworthy that recently the U.S. Air Force Command in Europe reported that a group of B-52s had arrived at Moron Air Base in Spain. It was noted that the goal would be to conduct multilateral exercises together with Finland, Lithuania, Sweden, and other allies and partners. The aircraft were to practice operations under high threat conditions. Earlier, it was reported that in California, USA, a B-55 bomber was spotted in the sky carrying a cruise missile that resembles the new Low Observable Nuclear Cruise Missile AGM for the US Armed Forces. The US Space Force also reported conducting tests of the Minuteman III intercontinental missile. This is a solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile that the US has had in service since 1970. Its range is 9,500 kilometers. This missile is considered a key element of the US national defense. Because of the videos showing Russians entering Pokrovsk, there was an uproar in the Z channels. Some Russian bloggers are saying that because these videos were published, the attempt was thwarted and the column was destroyed.
Now to the point. Because of some idiot who filmed this and leaked it online, today there are piles of dead and burned out equipment there.
At the same time, Putin's soldiers are fleeing the front more and more often. This was reported by a captain of the Russian army who deserted from the so-called special military operation to journalists from the Khodorkovsky Live project. He also spoke about resettings, extortion, alcoholism, and drug addiction among Putin's troops, as well as other horrors in the army.
Several people from our unit died during training. The nurses walk around. In the evening, some of them turn into geishas. Our officers would just shoot. If someone didn't give the pin code, he would shoot him.
According to him, only riffraff are fighting in Ukraine, criminals and people with addictions.
It's already clear that people are simply being sent into a meat grinder.
Putin continues to throw people into the furnace of war. In grueling battles, Russian forces are trying to isolate and encircle Hulyapol in the Zaporizhzhia region. They are using infiltration tactics and striking supply routes, according to the Institute for the Study of War. At the same time, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived at the front in the Zaporizhzhia region, in the Orikhiv direction, in great detail.
We discussed today with the commanders what is needed to strengthen our positions and how to provide more forces in this direction. It's an important direction. I am grateful for the complete information about the specific difficulties here in the Zaporizhzhia region.
He visited the command post of the 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade Veliki Lu, which, as part of the 17th Corps, is holding the defense in this direction, as well as the soldiers of the 128th Separate Mountain Assault Brigade who are defending Stepnohirsk.